Gu Yong was known for his abstinence from alcohol and for being a reserved and quiet person. He maintained proper conduct and behaviour all the time, even in casual and informal settings. Whenever he attended festival celebrations, he was usually a spoilsport because his mere presence often made his colleagues feel uneasy. They were worried that he would see them in their non-sober states, so they tended to exercise greater self-control while enjoying themselves. Sun Quan once remarked, "Although Gu Yong doesn't talk much, he is spot on when he speaks, but when he's around, no one will have fun." Gu Yong relied on personal integrity and showed great wisdom and tolerance. That's why he was able to remain in the most prestigious position until his death. The Gu clan was one of the foremost influential in Wu Commandery, with their ancestral home located in Wu County. Gu Yong was born in 168 to the same mother as Gu Hui, his younger brother, who often travelled away to study and so became a good speaker. Another relative called Gu Tsi was born at an unknown date. His father served as a prefect over 4 counties at the same time throughout his career and held office even in his old age. Whenever Gu Tsi received a letter from him, he washed up, dressed properly, laid out a straw mat and knelt on it as he read the letter. After reading every line, he responded as if he was listening to his father speak them. After he finished, he kowtowed as if his father was before him. The Gu clan's fame launched his career at 14 years old, where he served as a low-level official, but his career steadily grew up until Sun Quan's succession struggle. Sometime in the 180s, when Cai Yong came to stay locally, he met Gu Yong and they studied together. Under Cai Yong's tutelage, Gu Yong displayed his quick learning and easy-to-teach attitude, which earned him high praise. "You will definitely reach the pinnacle of success, so I offer you a new name, the same name as mine." The name Yong differed between the two, but was similar. Then Gu adopted the courtesy name Yuan Tan, which literally means top praise. His fame reached the administrator, who recommended him to office, serving as the chief of Hefei before being reassigned 3 times. During this time, he married a daughter of Lu Kang, the administrator of Lujiang Commandery, and through this marriage he became a brother-in-law of Lu Ji. His brother-in-law was later famously named as one of the 24 Flyal exemplars due to an anecdote of Yuan Shu where he was caught stealing mandarins for his mother and so was forgiven. Gu Yong had 3 sons, Gu Shao, Gu Yu, and Gu Ji. The first was the most prominent, while the second was known for being in poor health, and the third ended up inheriting his father's peerage. His firstborn son, Gu Shao, was born in 185 or 188, and was well read in history while showing a keen interest in moral obligations. As a youth, he was as famous as his uncle Lu Ji, and even considered better than the other notables from famous families such as Lu Xun, Zhang Dun, and Bu Jing. His popularity attracted many visitors from throughout Yang province who wanted to befriend him or build connections with him. He married a daughter of Sun Ce, and might have also married one of Lu Xun's sisters. It was around 200 or 201 when Sun Quan was granted as administrator over Kuaji that Gu Yong was appointed as his deputy while his brother Gu Hui came to serve as his registrar. Gu Yong served Sun Quan very closely to help him administrate Kuaji by integrating the rebels and minorities in order to maintain peace. He earned much respect from the people and his colleagues, but after holding this office for many years, he was eventually reassigned to be a left major under Sun Quan. One day, while taking a stroll in town, second son Gu Hui saw soldiers escorting a man off to be executed. He halted the punishment when he heard that the man had stolen 100 coins, then rushed off to Sun Quan's office. He explained, "We're a growing population in preparation for war in the north, so we should see this man as a potential soldier. The amount of money he stole is a small amount, then I humbly request him to be spared." Sun Quan was so pleased that he not only approved the request, but also reassigned Gu Hui to work in the right bureau of his office. Around 204, Sun Quan told Gu Hui, "You are someone I can trust. I heard Cao Cao has the intention of attacking us, and I need someone to confirm it, so I'll send you on the mission." Gu Hui was commissioned as a commandant who upholds righteousness, then sent as an emissary to meet Cao Cao. He conveyed the message that Jiangdong was a prosperous region and that the Shan Yue had not only stopped their raids, but were also willing to join Sun Quan's army. To this, Cao laughed. "I have marital ties with Sun Quan, and we are in the same family working together to support the Han. Why are you telling me all this?" To disguise his show of force, Gu Hui acknowledged the Lord's relationships and highlighted how important it was that Cao knows what's happening in Jiangdong. After being generously treated, Gu Hui returned to Sun Quan. It's very difficult to assess the intentions of a rival state, but based on the information I learned, I know that they are at war with Yuan Tan and have no other designs at the moment. Gu Hui was later appointed as the nominal administrator and his future looked bright under Sun Quan, but he died soon after his first promotion. When Zhou Yu died in 210, Pang Tong came to Wu Commandery to attend his funeral. Many people came to see him before he left, where he befriended Liu Ji, Gu Shao, Chuan Kong and appraised each of them. Liu Ji was described as a horse that cannot run fast but has strong endurance. Gu Shao was described as an ox that is not very strong but can bear burdens over great distances. People wanted to know what he meant and who is actually better, Liu Ji or Gu Shao, but Pang Tong replied, "An ox can only travel 300 li a day, but it can certainly bear more than the weight of just one person." Gu Shao later asked, "Like me, you're a good judge of character. Between us, who do you think is the better?" Pang Tong replied, "I'm not as good as you at associating with people and assessing their character, but when it comes to politics and strategy, it seems I'm one day ahead of you." They both agreed with each other and developed a close bond in the short time that they were together. Liu Ji and Gu Shao told him as he departed, "When peace is restored in the empire, we want to have a good discussion with you about famous people." First son Gu Shao started his career at the age of 26 and became the administrator of Yuzhang. When he reached his post, he paid his respects at the tomb of the hermit scholar Zhu Ruji and treated his descendants well, but also banned unorthodox practices and customs. During his tenure, he identified talents from the junior staff and sent them away for further education while promoting those under him based off good performance. He promoted education and Confucian culture while cultivating youths such as Ding Shu, Zhang Bi, Wu Can and Yin Li, who all came from humble backgrounds. When these four all reached great heights, Gu Shao earned praise for his good judgment. Gu Shao was also known for showing care and concern towards his friends and subordinates. When Zhang Bing's parents passed away, Gu Shao donned mourning garments and also attended the funeral, then later when he was leaving Wu Commandery, Zhang Bing was too sick to come see him leave. Gu Shao told the people, "Zhang is sick, he must be thinking it's a pity he can't bid me farewell, I'll go see him instead." After 5 years of serving in office as the administrator of Yuzhang, Gu Shao died, but was survived by his 2 sons. Gu Tan was born to Sun Ce's daughter in 205, and Gu Cheng was born to Lu Xun's sister at an unknown date. In 222, when Sun Quan became the king of Wu, he promoted Gu Yong to the positions of Imperial Ancestral Ceremonies and Prefect of the Masters of Writing. He was further enfeoffed as the Marquis of Yangshui, but went straight back to his office after his ceremony. His family were very shocked and pleased when they later found out that he had been made a Marquis. When Sun Quan picked 4 close attendants to assist his heir and eldest son Sun Deng, Gu Shao's first son Gu Tan was chosen. He started his career before the age of 20 and worked alongside Zhuge Ke, Zhang Xiu and Chen Biao. In 225, Gu Yong fetched his mother from his hometown in Wu County to live with him in Wuchang. When she arrived, Sun Quan and Sun Deng greeted and welcomed her in person, and later paid respects to her in the presence of all of his subjects. Gu Yong was reassigned and promoted until he eventually succeeded Sun Shao as the Imperial Chancellor, taking charge of Wu's Imperial Secretary. The appointment of Gu Yong and later Lu Xun was the compromise between the local Xiangdong nobility and the ruling clique of Wu. Both Gu and Lu descended from powerful Xiangdong clans. Sun Quan was eager to grant more power shares for the Xiangdong nobility as long as it enabled the Sun royal family to maintain overall control. While holding office as Imperial Chancellor, Gu Yong managed the administration well and never shared any of his opinions on policies except when he spoke to Sun Quan in person. He also assigned his personnel to their most suited respective appointments in a way which allowed them to put their talents to good use. He often went on inspection tours to assess local conditions and to see if policy changes could be made to improve the people's lives. When he had new ideas, he secretly proposed them to Sun Quan, which earned his deep trust. If the ideas he put forth were implemented, he gave the credit to Sun Quan instead of claiming it for himself. If his ideas were rejected, he kept quiet and did not reveal anything, thus Sun Quan regarded him very highly. On one occasion, Sun Quan sought feedback on policy matters, so Zhang Zhao spoke up to ask for a review of the laws and presented his research. He proposed they were too strict and that the penalties too harsh, but Sun Quan didn't respond to him. Zhang turned to Gu Yong and asked what he thought, and he agreed. Sun Quan then approved Zhang Zhao's request and reviewed the laws. Sun Quan often came up with policy ideas, then sent his palace secretaries to consult Gu Yong. If he disapproved, he appeared honest but remained silent, and had no food or drinks prepared for them. Sun Quan once said, "If Lord Gu is happy, that means he agrees, but if he doesn't say anything, that means he thinks your idea can be improved. When that happens, I think it through again carefully." Wu officers constantly fought at the borders along the Yangtze, but wanted credit for their contributions in battle. They would always write their suggestions to the court for minor attacks and raids into Wei, so Sun Quan asked Gu Yong about it. "I heard that in warfare, one should refrain from making petty gains. When these officers make suggestions, they just want to claim some credit and glory for themselves, rather than actually benefit the state. Your Majesty should ban suggestions such as these. If an attack isn't sufficient, it isn't good enough for us to showcase our military might, and it shouldn't be taken into action." After Sun Quan declared himself emperor in 229, he designated Sun Deng as his crown prince. Among his 4 attendants, Gu Tan and Zhu Ge were the most trusted, and they were all promoted under various titles. Hu Zong wrote a commentary about the 4 advisors, where about Gu Tan he wrote, "He is excellent at recognizing opportunities, and has deep detailed thoughts." When Yang Dao warned about the 4's shortcomings, about Gu Tan he wrote, "Simo is smart but ruthless." Eventually, all 4 failed at politics. Gu Shao's second son, Gu Cheng, started his career around the 230s, along with his uncle Lu Mao, Lu Xun's younger brother. Sun Quan wrote to Gu Yong, "Your grandson Ziji is well known for his talent. After I met him, I realized his ability far exceeds what people say. You must be proud of him." He was commissioned as a cavalry commandant and commander of the Feathered Forest Imperial Guards. He joined Shou in pacifying the Shanyue tribes, whereafter they recruited 8,000 of their best troops. Around this time, Sun Quan had appointed his highly trusted official Lu Yi as the supervisor over a very important bureau. It was in charge of auditing and reviewing the work of all officials in both the Wu central government and regional offices. Along with his colleague Xinbo, they freely abused their powers by picking up on trivialities and falsely accusing numerous officials. As a result, some were wrongfully imprisoned or even tortured under interrogation. Lu Yi even built a case against Gu Yong regarding his competence, but dropped it when he found out that Pan Zhen would likely replace him. Pan Zhen hated Lu Yi, so would have no problem taking action against him if he became Chancellor. By the year 238, Sun Quan learnt the truth about Lu Yi and the gravity of the situation. After removing him from office, he had him imprisoned under the watch of the Ministry of Justice, then ordered Gu Yong to conduct the investigation. When he interrogated Lu Yi, he maintained his composure and performed his job professionally. Afterwards, when he asked him if he has anything else to say, Lu Yi only kowtowed and remained silent. When another official started scolding him on the way out, Gu Yong sternly interrupted him. "As government officials, we should follow the laws. Why must you do this?" When Gu Tan replaced Zhu Ge as the left regional governor, his first written memorials to Sun Quan greatly impressed. The emperor even delayed meals to read his script, awarded him several gifts, and had special meetings with him. Whenever Gu Tan read documents himself, he could easily spot mistakes by quickly browsing through them. His subordinates were very impressed, while Shou Zong even resigned his position of Master of Writing in the Selection Bureau to him. Gu Tan is focused, meticulous, knowledgeable, and detail-orientated. He's a talented individual and highly regarded figure among his colleagues. I'm afraid I cannot perform better than him. When one of Sun Quan's nieces married a member of the Gu clan, Gu Yong and Gu Tan attended the wedding. Gu Tan's newest title was the modern-day equivalent of a human resources director, but during the celebrations he got drunk and started dancing wildly in front of his grandfather, the other guests, and Sun Quan. Gu Yong was extremely embarrassed, but didn't say anything until the following day. He summoned Gu Tan and lectured him. Kings see it as a virtue for them to endure hardship for the sake of fulfilling a greater purpose. Subjects see it as their duty to be mindful, humble, and respectful. What great contributions have you made to our state? How dare you lose control of yourself? You're in the Emperor's favour only because of your family background, and your drunken behaviour shows you're not humble enough. You think you don't need to be respectful just because the Emperor favours us. It looks like one day you will be the one who brings disgrace to our family. Gu Yong turned away and lay down on his couch and rested, facing in the opposite direction. Gu Tan had to stand there for 2 hours until his grandfather dismissed him. In the summer of 241, Chuan Kong led Chuan Shou and Chuan Duan against Wang Ling, but the battle didn't go well for them initially. Gu Cheng and his friend Zhang Xiu arrived to support them, and eventually they drove the Wei forces back. After the battle, Sun Quan deemed Gu Cheng and Zhang Xiu's contributions more than the Chuan's, so they began to dislike Gu Cheng, and by extension his brother Gu Tan as well. Towards the end of 243, after holding office as Imperial Chancellor for about 19 years, Gu Yong became critically ill. The palace physician Zhao Shuan arrived to assess him, then soon after Gu Yong's youngest son was promoted. When he heard about it, he sadly remarked, "Zhao Shuan is an expert at assessing whether someone will live or die. The Emperor wants me to see Guji receiving his commission. That's how I know for sure that I won't recover." He died between November and December of that year at the age of 76. He was posthumously titled Marquis C, which means serious Marquis. Some months after his grandfather's death, Gu Tan was put in charge of supervising the Imperial Secretariat, a task that Gu Yong used to do as a Chancellor. When there was a power struggle between Sun He and Sun Ba, Gu Tan believed Sun He to be the rightful heir. He argued that He was of higher status, so should receive greater honours, citing historical examples to make his case clearer. Sun Ba held a grudge against Gu Tan after he heard that he wrote this memorial. Gu Yong's relative, Gu Ci, whose career had steadily grown until Sun Quan's succession struggle, also sided with Sun He. Gu Tan and Gu Ci both urged Sun Quan to follow Confucian rules of propriety to ensure Sun He remains as the crown prince. Gu Ci and Juju came forward to speak to Sun Quan, and it was a very sincere and straightforward manner. Everyone in the imperial court was rather taken back by their behaviour. Gu Ci was known for being very respectful towards his wife, even though he spent little time with her. He often got home very late after work, and left very early in the morning. On one occasion he was working while sick, so his wife came to visit him, but he asked his staff to dress him properly and support him as he went to greet her, only to ask her to go home. When he received news that his father was ill, he shed tears and started sobbing. After his father died of old age, Gu Ci was so upset that he didn't eat nor drink for 5 days. He refused to change out of his mourning attire until Sun Quan forced him to wear a linen robe with no padding as a suitable replacement. He restrained his grief so that he could continue with his work, but he still missed his father so much. He often drew the image of a coffin onto the walls, set up altars, and started crying in front of them. He eventually died while still suffering from heartache before he completed his 3 years of filial mourning. By now, the Chuan clan had found an opportunity to exact revenge upon the Gu clan by reporting Gu Cheng, Gu Tan and Zhang Xiu for the serious crime of colluding with the enemy. Sun Quan was reluctant to find them guilty, so came up with a plan to appease the Chuan clan without convicting the Gu brothers and Zhang Xiu. He had them make a public apology so that afterwards he can pardon and release them. Gu Tan refused to apologise, however. "Your Majesty, how can you let baseless accusations have their way?" An official later accused Gu Tan of showing great disrespect here and argued that he should be executed. Sun Quan took into consideration Gu Yong's meritorious service in the past to reduce his grandson's punishment from execution to being exiled. When he was in exile in Jiao province, Gu Tan wrote a 20-chapter book called New Arguments to express his frustration and lament his own plight.